For that, and we've got our next guest joining us. It's Wednesday, so we're catching up with Blythe Brumleve. Today we're talking all about marketing and when it's time to shake things up a little bit. Blythe, thank you for being here this morning. Great to have you as always. And let's talk about it, because you can kind of get in a rut when it comes to marketing, right? And sometimes you got to say, man, we got to do something different.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the perfect time of the year to be asking those questions, to be looking at what's working. Most people have already been working on their budget for 2024. You likely have already finished that budget for 2024. So what do those experiments look like? Where does it look like where you're going to be spending your time? And I think the most important thing for folks to remember that as you're analyzing where to spend your time and your attention is where you yourself are spending your time and attention. What platforms, what social channels are you finding the most value? Are you finding value in email newsletters that you're getting? Why are you finding value in those? Are they providing a unique point of view? Are they providing insight that you could maybe shift a little bit for your own audience? And so all of these questions should be, you should be asking your team around this time of the year so that you can start on the right foot starting in January and moving forward through the rest of 2024.
And Blythe, what advice do you have for those that maybe, are on marketing teams and they're being asked to do more with less? What are going to be some of those items that they can really start to get behind with maybe budgets that match the previous years or a little bit below, that they can really start to make the most out of what they are given?
Well, I'm going to get on my AI soapbox again, because it's just something that is just so revolutionary that is happening right now across not just marketing, but medical fields, accounting fields. I mean, the ability to be able to take data sets and analyze them, or take data sets and throw it into ChatGPT and say, create a blog article from this, or to even take it a step further, which is my favorite use case, is to use it for ideation. You know, there's still a lot of tools out there that promise the world when it comes to AI. We're not quite there yet, but the important thing to remember with AI is that this is the worst it's ever going to be. And so for, fellow millennials out there that kind of remember the console wars between like Xbox, Nintendo, and Sony, this is very much what is playing out right now before our eyes with a lot of these different large language models. And so really where it's sort of hinting at where the future is that you're going to be able to customize these large language models depending on your data set. And another thing that I have really been, hampering on about, especially on this show, is starting to gather your own internal data sets using AI note takers. Otter's one that I use. I know there's a few of them, a few of the others out there that you can use as well. They automatically join a meeting. They create takeaways. They transcribe the meeting. They create notes. And these are essential of what a marketing team could be using to do more with less. So you can attend all of those different sales meetings. You can find out what questions are being asked. You can find out different commonalities, different verbiage that's being used, and you can take that and use it in your own resources within your own website, email marketing campaigns, social campaigns. But it's important to remember to not solely rely on AI tools to do all of the work for you. You want to use them to get you about 70 to 80% there, and then use the human touch as far as editing is concerned, putting your own little sort of, language that you use, maybe slang that you use, and try it out on these different social media channels. Treat it as a way to start a conversation, treat it as a digital handshake, but you definitely don't want to use these tools and a lot of these different features in order to just show up to a social channel and just throw up your sales pitch everywhere. You really want to fine tune it, use them for ideation, use it for analyzing some large data sets in Google Analytics or Search Console, and then you can be able to derive some plans from there. But doing more with less, AI is going to be your best bet.
So this time of year often brings about kind of some reflection in a business standpoint. And of course, as you mentioned, a lot of folks have already kind of planned their 2024 business or their 2024 budget. But you have this opportunity, especially as we get into this kind of like lull period between like now and New Year's, right? Nobody wants to work between now and New Year's. You have this really good opportunity to sit back and take a very, very reflective look at what did and what didn't work. You get things like, just for example, like your Spotify Wrapped would show you the metrics for the year. You should create something like that for your business, right? Maybe you create like an email wrapped or something that puts a very tangible hold on your metrics so you can see what did and what did not perform well. When you're looking at things to maybe cut out, are there any kind of like low-hanging things that people need to just get rid of? Like, are we talking like those automated texts or something that doesn't work, or is it all just kind of, it depends on your business?
I think so. I'm a fan of automating where it makes sense. But for a lot of businesses, they think once you automate it, it's just set it and forget it, and you never have to touch it again. That couldn't be further from the truth. You have to assign someone to be the manager of that automation, so that they can make sure that it's firing correctly. You know, Zapier is one of the more common automation tools that exist on the market, and so being able to look at what's working, what's not working, and then also being able to devote a certain amount of your planning to experimentation. And when you think about experimentation, it's what other social channel am I going to maybe try out? Maybe LinkedIn isn't really giving me the inspiration that, and I'm personally in this boat, you know, LinkedIn isn't necessarily giving me the inspiration that I used to find even just a couple years ago or even just a year ago. So what other channels are giving me that inspiration that I maybe could just join and listen first, you know, being patient with different social channels and just having a presence. You know, X, for example, / Twitter is making really gigantic waves right now within the freight community. More and more leaders, freight founders are joining that platform. They're sharing their expertise, but they're also sharing their expertise and creating memes at the same time to kind of joke around about the industry. You know, maybe that's a lane you want to play in, or maybe you want to, you know, consider what you've always done. But if you do what you've always done in the age of AI and all of these different social channels, then it's kind of like a death, or a very slow death. And so for me, I think you need to leave a little bit of room for experimentation, a little bit of room to join other platforms, other channels like Twitter, like X, like Discord, and be able to just focus on listening first to see what people are talking about. And then you can chime in. It's almost like I kind of compare it to whenever you're at a conference, you know, there's all those, there's the scheduled parties, but then there's like the after parties. And it's like, well, who's going to be there? Who's sponsoring the after party? What kind of vibe is it going to be? Like, you want to know that insight the exact same way about those types of events as you would these social channels. So you can know what to expect. So you're not just showing up and just, you know, DMing a bunch of people your sales pitch. You're showing up, you're listening first, you're being patient. And that's part of that experimentation budget that could fall in line with the rest of the things that you know that are tried and true. And that's also where AI can play a role as well. So you have your tried and true marketing things that are working for you, and maybe you're doing more with less, and you're doing that experimentation through AI through maybe 30% of your time, whereas 70% of your time is doing the normal things, the blog articles, the emails, and things like that. One thing I do think that is on the way out, essentially, especially with how search is being used, and we're not talking about it enough, is just SEO in general and Google search in general. Less and less. There was a report the other day of, you know, AI generated images that are being shown as the first and second results on Google image search. And so, you know, with the use of these tools, with how, you know, human behavior is evolving, it's a real big question right now to ask on how quickly, you know, the traditional tools that we've been using in marketing and just in day-to-day life are going to be sticking around in the coming months and in the coming years. And I think Google search is one of those things to really pay attention to. And if you're looking to cut, you know, as far as budget is concerned, and I could go on and on about SEO and Google search and how those habits are evolving and changing. But for the sake of this conversation, that's definitely something you want to keep an eye on in the coming months.
And Blythe, last time I asked you on your way out if we would see a resurgence in Clubhouse. This time I'm going to ask you on your way out, do we see Threads making a huge resurgence in 2024?
No, Threads is just one of those platforms. Like, I wish the best for it, but it just feels like every time I check in with it, it's just a bunch of people complaining about Twitter. And that to me is just incredibly boring. So no, I don't think so. But, you know, Instagram, Facebook, they're putting a lot of money behind it. So it'll be sticker around for the foreseeable future.
All right, Blythe, thank you for joining us this morning. And of course, we love talking to you. So we'll chat with you next week.
See you next week.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.